Opinion: broken windows to homes. How rent control laws are crippling prime real estate in India. Walking through any major Indian city, be it Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, or Bengaluru, you are likely to encounter a striking contrast: gleaming skyscrapers and modern malls standing side by side with crumbling, time-worn buildings. These dilapidated structures, often located in prime commercial or residential zones, tell a silent story of neglect and policy paralysis. Despite their high real estate value, many of these buildings remain untouched by development, their facades cracked, balconies rusting, and walls blackened by pollution and age. They are relics of a bygone era, trapped in a legal and economic limbo, often due to outdated rent control laws that discourage maintenance and redevelopment. This urban decay not only mars the cityscape but also symbolizes the untapped potential of India's urban core. India's rent control laws, such as the Delhi Rent Control Act of 1958, were introduced to protect tenants from post-independence housing shortages and inflation. These laws capped rents at artificially low levels and made tenant eviction nearly impossible. While they provided short-term relief to tenants, they inadvertently created a long-term urban crisis. Landlords, receiving meager rents often unchanged for decades, found little incentive or financial capacity to maintain or upgrade their properties. In many cases, the rent collected is not even enough to cover basic maintenance, let alone structural repairs or modernization. As a result, buildings have deteriorated over time, becoming unsafe and unsightly. This deterioration aligns closely with the broken windows theory, a criminological concept that suggests visible signs of neglect like broken windows, graffiti, or dilapidated buildings lead to further disorder and decline. In Indian cities, the theory manifests in the form of neglected buildings attracting encroachments, illegal activities, and further urban decay. Once prime neighborhoods begin to lose their charm, safety, and economic potential, the psychological impact is also significant. When residents and visitors see neglected infrastructure, it signals a lack of governance and civic pride, reducing the perceived value of the area. This creates a vicious cycle: neglect breeds more neglect, and the area continues to decline. India's urban real estate market is deeply bifurcated. On one hand, there is a severe shortage of affordable housing, with sky-high rents in newer developments. On the other, vast swathes of centrally located properties lie underutilized or abandoned due to rent control restrictions. This mismatch distorts the housing market, pushing middle-class and working-class families to the peripheries while prime land remains locked in legal and economic limbo. Developers are often eager to redevelop these properties, but the legal hurdles are formidable. Redevelopment requires the consent of a majority, or sometimes, all of the tenants, many of whom are unwilling to vacate due to the low rents they enjoy. Even when agreements are reached, bureaucratic delays and title disputes can stall projects for years. The economic cost of this inefficiency is staggering. Prime land that could be used for high-density housing, commercial hubs, or public infrastructure remains underutilized. This not only limits urban growth but also contributes to rising property prices and rent inflation in other parts of the city. Socially, the impact is equally damaging. Families continue to live in unsafe conditions, often without proper sanitation, ventilation, or structural integrity. Fires, collapses, and health hazards are common in such buildings, yet legal protections for tenants make it nearly impossible to intervene swiftly. Recognizing the problem, the Indian government introduced the Model Tenancy Act in 2019, aiming to balance the rights of landlords and tenants while encouraging investment in rental housing. However, adoption by states has been slow, and legacy rent control laws remain in force in many urban centers, including Delhi. To truly revitalize India's urban core, a multi-pronged approach is needed. Swipe left for next video. India's cities are growing rapidly, but their hearts are decaying. Rent control laws, though rooted in social justice, have become a barrier to progress. By reforming these laws and embracing a more balanced, market-driven approach, India can unlock the true potential of its urban real estate, revitalizing neighborhoods, improving living conditions, and making cities more inclusive and efficient. The author is a public affairs professional and tweets an Ajag. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the author. They do not necessarily reflect NEWS18's views. Latest blogs.